And along those lines, I thought it was really interesting. We discussed another article about BlackRock and their CEO, Larry Fink, and how he was saying that BlackRock is becoming a lot more customer centric by putting all their weight behind sustainability and climate change because their investors are demanding it. But this then opens the door for I guess on one hand, it opens the door for a certain kind of accounting to come in and be recognized on the balance sheet. But alongside that, we're riding with new stakeholders that come in and are now part of the balance sheet. So I think most people talk about this as ESG reporting, and this is a brand new world, or seems to be a brand new world. Can you tell us a little bit more about what ESG reporting is about and why this move from BlackRock was so significant?
More than happy to. Larry Fink issued a letter to his investor community in January, but this was just one of the items that is really adding on to a tipping point of a considerable change on how boards are going to hold themselves accountable to not only their shareholders, but also other stakeholders of that organization. We saw about a year and a half ago, summer of 2019, I think it was a group of large corporate CEOs who came out and said, listen, I think it's time that we really challenge some of our anchoring in shareholder primacy. We really need to be starting to bring in other people that make up our social and our business models that help our companies be successful. Larry Fink basically threw in his organization, and they manage roughly $7 trillion of investment assets, and saying, listen, if a company's not really thinking about ESG, environment, social, and governance of the organization and reporting it continuously, we're not going to look at them as much. We're going to basically begin to differentially invest in other places to take. And so there's an immediate reaction out there in the community, which is, yesterday I'm dealing with cyber, yesterday I'm dealing with trade wars, yesterday I'm dealing with COVID, and now I got this ESG thing coming up, and all these stakeholders that are going to be coming after me. What does that mean, and how do I hold myself accountable? So now is the search. One of the things I'll share with you that I think is very exciting about what's going on is the 4 largest accounting firms in the world have put together, and it was recently released about a month ago with the World Economic Forum, a paper that basically begins that conversation and saying, we need to attach metrics to this. We need to show a consistency out there globally that companies and shareholders and investors and advisors, they can compare the organizations. And more importantly is, what they're doing, are they delivering upon that promise? And that's the importance of that reporting of what's taking place.
Well, and you talk about ESG as environment, social, and government, but the word I'm missing there is customer. Where does customer fit in that ESG framework?
It's a great question. When you sit back and you look at ESG, you sit back and going, well, aren't customers a stakeholder? And the answer is absolutely positively yes. It's embedded in that social side. It's the relationships an organization has with its key stakeholders. One of the countries in the world that has really been in this business for a long period of time is the country of South Africa. They adopted and they use it in their publicly reported stock market, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, integrated reporting. They are way out ahead of most of the other, they're way out ahead of most countries right now in their reporting on stakeholder involvement. The real shift that's taking place when you see this ESG or you hear this thing about integrated reporting is this. Yesterday's business was solely evaluated on what they did yesterday. This is what we did, this is what we accomplished. This is about now the board's becoming responsible to management that has to articulate clearly where they're going, how they're creating value. And this is a much more complex conversation because it's not only where are we growing value, it's to whom are we growing this value for. The one we're most comfortable with is the people who make the financial funds available to the company, the shareholder. That's not changing except for the perspective. But now we're adding in there, tell us how you're supporting government and regulators. Are you engaged with them? Do you know where they're trying to take and improve society? Tell us where you are in your communities, where you're doing business. What are you doing for your employees as things are being so disrupted with digital transformation? And last, and I don't mean this by any stretch least, what are you doing for your customers? And now think about that. How often do we go out and articulate? I mean, absolutely articulate the level of investment I'm making in my customers. And most importantly is my customers acknowledging they know this investment was made in them. And there's a reason they're doing that. And I'm sure we'll hit a few of those in a few seconds.